Hello and welcome back again to Stupid Boy UFC. I know it's been long, like 3 months since I've uploaded my last video, but I have reasons for that. I had my exams going on, so as soon as my exams are over, I'm hopping back in to make a video about the thing that I love to talk about the world of mixed martial arts. And recently, I've heard many fights that are made in the UFC, like Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa, Makashe versus Oliveira too, and I really want to see those fights. I really want to enjoy, and I really would like to share my opinions about those fights. But today, we are going to ask each other question, me and my podcast partner Green Tea, and these are some of the questions that he is going to ask me. And yeah, I mean, it's not a usual podcast because me and my friend live in different cities, and we have different schedules also because of his job and all that. So that is why we will do it like this. He will ask me questions, and here are his questions.
Hello everyone, this is Green Tea. So my question to Stupid Boy UFC is Kevin Gastelum moving back to 170 LB. So what's your hot take on it? And does Shavkat versus Gastelum, does it even make sense? Khamzat versus Paulo Costa for UFC 294. Your hot take on it. Francis securing fight with Fury. So what are your views? And do you think does he even have chance to beat Fury? And two more questions which I have for you is what's your best pay-per-view for this year so far? Which is the best card did you like so far? And among the upcoming pay-per-view for the rest of the year, which is the most you're looking forward to?
So the first question is that Kelvin Gastelum has recently moved back to 170 pounds. Whether he will be relevant there, or Shaukat Rahmanov versus Kelvin Gastelum, will that be a competitive fight? And for all my money, I would bet that it will be a competitive fight because I know that Shaukat Rahmanov. I've seen something, in the fight against Jeff Neal and Shaukat Rahmanov, that I think that it would be a fight that we can watch. I mean, like, it won't be only a grappling contest because Shaukat Rahmanov likes to do the man dance. He likes to throw punches, and that is not always the correct scene that we have seen, that every time he's either knocks someone out or either like just do his wrestling. I think like it's not about that. I think because Shaukat Rahmanov is a dominant wrestler, he can wrestle you, but on the other hand, he likes to throw hands. And I think the way that he can defeat uh, Kevin Gastelum is by kicks, not by punches. I think like his kicks are better than his punches, and he can defeat Kevin Gastelum like that. But Kelvin Gastelum has got some power, and my opinions about Kelvin Gastelum moving back to like welterweight is that Kelvin Gastelum was always undersized at middleweight, and I think like that was a good decision because I think like he was massively undersized, and some of these people are going to wrestle him at 185 pounds. So moving back to 170 pounds is quite reasonable for him, and I think it was a rational decision, and it was a good decision. I think like it would be good for him in the long run, and it will benefit him. I think like that. I think it will definitely going to help him in a way that his career will be new because he had some losses at 185 pounds. That is what I think. The second question by Green Tea is that Khamzat versus Paulo for UFC 294. My views on that. I think that is a good fight. I think not only because everybody thinks that Khamzat Chimaev is going to streamroll over, like Paulo Costa, and I think like Paulo Costa can give him a tough fight because if Khamzat Chimaev wants to, Khamzat Chimaev can knock out Paulo Costa. I think so. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I think the major advantage for Khamzat Chimaev is in his striking against Paulo Costa, not in his wrestling, because shorter people like I mean, not shorter, because literally Paulo Costa is more than 6 feet, but I think like the stockier, I should say, stockier, bulkier people like Paulo Costa can't be out wrestled that easily, as compared to, like, being jabbed or just kept at a distance, or just, like, do the technical boxing. I don't think Paulo Costa has technical boxing. I think he just relies on his power punches, and I don't think he has that huge of a power punches, because if he had that, he would have knocked out Luke Rockhold. So that is my view on that. The third question of Green Tea is that Francis securing a fight with Fury. My take on that: I think it is good for Francis Ngannou only. It's not good for boxing. It's not good for Tyson Fury, because I don't think like it's just like Francis Ngannou has done his thing in the UFC, and he's earned in a way, to have such kind of match. I don't think like he's like it's doing anything good for the boxing, because we just want to see, Usyk versus Francis Ngannou, you know no, Usyk versus Tyson Fury, because that is the fight that all the boxing fan in the world wants. I mean, like, what if Francis Ngannou knocks out Tyson Fury? That's the vibe that I'm getting from this fight. I'm not getting, like, we will see a better technical boxer if whoever wins, because, like, it's just a freak show. Everybody wants, like, to see these freak shows, and yeah, Francis Ngannou may be able to knock out Tyson Fury somehow, and I bet my horse on that. Like, it would never happen. I don't think like Tyson Fury is fool enough to, just bang with the man. I think like he will just out jab him throughout the fight, and that's easy for Tyson Fury. I don't think like if you're a technical boxer, if you know about real boxing, I don't think like it's tough for anybody to just evade the power punches and just stay on the outside and out jab the person. And if he can out jab Tyson, and Francis Ngannou, I think like he can even knock out Francis Ngannou after many rounds. So that's why I think like it can be tiring for Francis Ngannou too. I think like Francis Ngannou is a power puncher, and if he throws 2-3 punches and he see that Tyson Fury is not even there, because Tyson Fury has that evading boxing style. So I think like in that way, I really think like Francis Ngannou can actually like lose in a very very boring fight, and he can get knocked out. I don't think like Tyson Fury will ever be able to like get knocked out by sloppy puncher Francis Ngannou. And I really don't want to disrespect Francis Ngannou, but he's a sloppy puncher. We all know that, and it works in mixed martial arts. It will never work in boxing. That's what my opinion is on this fight. My best pay-per-view so far this year, I think like my best pay-per-view so far this year is Volkanovski versus Makhachev, because that is the fight that has actually changed the perspective on who is actually number one pound for pound fighter. I don't think like it is against it was determined in that fight, because there was literally a fight some day later. Like, John Jones actually proved that he is pound for pound number one best fighter in this world. But I think like in a way, I really would say that Volkanovski proved that he is quite in the contention. That's why I really liked, and all the fights below the card, like co-main event, that interim title fight, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett, I think that was also a good fight. So that is my pick for the pay-per-view of the year. Now, which pay-per-view am I looking for most of the? I mean, like most, I am looking forward to the most. I think like it is UFC 294, no doubt about that. Makhachev versus Oliveira 2, absolutely banger of a fight. And the second fight is Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev. And there's a little trick that UFC is trying to do. They're like trying to outperform Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, and that's cool with them, because like they have built up Francis Ngannou. Everybody's like Francis Ngannou has done all the hard work. I think like UFC done a good job at building Francis Ngannou. So they can like they can do their you know their thing with this matchup, and just try to make us spend too much money on the pay-per-view, so that we will never be able to like buy the Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury pay-per-view. So these are our questions of Green Tea, and I've answered them. So it is now turn for Green Tea to answer my questions. So as I said, that we are on a different schedule and we are just doing this video alone, not like in a podcast where we're just asking question. I'm just asking question, he will answer, and he asks question, I will answer. I have answered actually. So these are my questions for you, Green Tea. First question is Francis versus Fury for UFC 294. Which pay-per-view to watch or buy? You know, it is like pick your poison or whatever. The second fight is the second question is Tommy Aspinall wanting to fight John Jones or Pavlovich versus Jones after a Stipe fight. Which are the fight that interests you if John Jones decide? Of course, if John Jones decide to stay after Stipe fight after defeating Stipe, that's my opinion. I think he will defeat Stipe. So, what fight interests you? John Jones versus Pavlovich, because Pavlovich is not a wrestler, or John Jones versus Tommy Aspinall. The third question is, will Conor McGregor versus Chandler ever happen? Because of like Conor McGregor is not no longer in the USADA pool, and that is why that is a little bit sketchy. They literally built up a whole show based on that, but I don't know whether that will happen. Do you believe that it will happen, Green Tea? That's my third question. Number four is Adesanya versus Dricker's interview situation, because that was literally very funny, and Dricker's pulling out, and Sean Strickland versus easy matchup next, because Dricker's is like, I don't have enough time to prepare for Adesanya in September, so he's trying to have that matchup rescheduled. My last questions are your UFC 291 predictions. KG versus Poirier, Pereira versus Blachowicz. So, what are your predictions for that?
So, if you are asking me if I had an option of watching either Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou or UFC 294 Abu Dhabi, which one I am going to watch? Like for me, I am an MMA fan. I'm not much of a boxing fan, even though it is like Fury versus Francis Ngannou is like you could be the boxing match of the year, but I'll still gonna skip that and watch any of the UFC pay-per-view any day. And then since 294 has my favorite fighters like Charles Oliveira, Khamzat, and even Paulo Costa, so there is no way I'm going to miss that. So as you know, Tom Aspinall won his fight in the first round itself, and during his post-fight interview, he said he's going to go to the UFC Paris and sit in the front seat and watch uh, Cyril Gane versus uh, the other guy. I forgot his name. So yeah, his aim, he aims to fight for the winner of that fight and then move on to beat John Jones. So my take on is, I think that's a pretty good plan, because like winner of the UFC Paris, it'll be a good decider that if Tommy Aspinall is able to beat that winner, I think he definitely has some chance, even though I won't still believe it, but he still has some chance to moving on to John Jones. So I wish him nothing but the best, and I want to see Tom Aspinall fight John Jones in the future. So if you're asking me, will does Connor versus Chandler is actually going to happen? So my answer is yes, there is still a chance, even though it is minute, but it is definitely not going to happen this year as we know, but probably early of next year, for maybe first quarter of next year, there is a chance. But I will only like fully believe it until and unless either Conor McGregor uh, goes into USADA pool, or UFC somehow is able to bypass that and then fire and fix Chandler versus Conor, which they like did for Brock Lesnar back in UFC 2000 200. So there is a chance, even if it is minute, and I I hope it they are able to book that fight. So this Israel Alasanya and DDP situation, I think it is. Uh, I I think it has taken an ugly turn, and maybe it'll definitely, like, get more attention than usual. The fight will definitely get more attention, and now I think that is the fight to make. And but unfortunately DDP had to back out because of the injuries that he sustained by fighting Robert Whittaker. And I think it is truly justified, because he, first of all, DDP was able to beat Robert Whittaker in second round. And after that, if you want to tell him that, okay, after beating the number one contender in middleweight, now you have to turn back and show up in the next 6 weeks, uh, compared to Izzy, who last fought in March, and he has enough time to recover and plan for his fight. So I think I won't actually say he backed out. I'll probably say he's waiting for his right time. And I think if we are having Arasane versus DDP, which I think it's gonna be a superb fight if it happens, and especially how the fans are going to support which side. It's going to be interesting. So in that, I think it's best that both the fighters should be healthy enough and should be prepared enough and ready to fight. Then only it should be booked. Otherwise, I'm fine for this for them to. I'm fine for the fight to be held much later, or maybe in the next year. And then, like, even, and I think it's good that this happened, because now we are able to see the fans' favorite fight in middleweight. It's like Alasanya versus Sean Strickland. I think it's going to be one of the best if I like pre-fight interview. And I think the banter between these two during the like online, whether it's social media or during the interview, it's going to be, I'm definitely going to look forward to. So I am not disappointed that DDP versus Alasanya is going to happen much later. But yeah, I think I'll enjoy both the fights. So, so my hot takes on the UFC 291 predictions. So unfortunately, Paulo Costa versus Akram Aliskerov is not going to happen. I think both of them now are going to fight with different opponents in UFC 294. So moving on to the next fight in the main card, Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. This is interesting. I don't. I think the last time Michael Chiesa fought was all the way back in all the way back last year. So he has taken some time off, and then like to be honest, this will be interesting. I am not sure who's going to win, because yeah, I think because I think if it goes to ground, I think there's a good chance Michael Chiesa will win, and I think if it stays on the ground, there's a good chance Kevin Holland winning. But I think since I like Kevin Holland more, I I think Kevin Holland will win. Now let's see the next. So the next fight on card is Tony Ferguson, the Boogeyman, versus Bobby Green. So I think this fight is much more fair for Tony Ferguson. I think both the fighters, Bobby Green and Tony Ferguson, are veteran fighters, and I think it's going to be a good fight. And I think this probably is going to go all 3 rounds. I don't see any one of them finishing each other, and I hope finally Tony gets his win, because in last 5 to 6 fights he's been losing continuously. So I hope Tony Ferguson is able to gain some confidence and beat Bobby Green. So the next one is Stephen Thompson versus Michelle Pereira. I think this is going to be the could be the fight of the night. If Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje is not the one, I think this could be the one, because both of them are, like, fun fighters. Both are strikers, and like both of them like to, like, display their striking skills. And Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland which is Stephen's previous fight, was fight of the fight of the night, and also one of the best fights of the year. So this one, I think, again, it's going to probably go to the decision. I don't see anyone finishing each other. Probably both of them want to fight for all 3 rounds to for entertaining the audience. And but in the end, since I think Steven is much more disciplined compared to Pereira, so I see Steven far, like, winning by unanimous decision. Now moving to the co-main event, it is Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira, and this is Alex Pereira's first fight in or like a debut in light heavyweight. So this is actually very interesting. See, if this is probably on the feet, then I see Alex Pereira probably knocking out Jan, or at least winning by unanimous decision. But if Jan is able to put Alex on the ground, or do like grappling, is able to, not allow him give space to strike, I see Jan Blachowicz winning, because he definitely surprised me in his last match. I had thought that him and Ankalaev would probably easily win, but Jan was able to give him a run for his money, and then the match was drawn. So this one, I think, I since I like Jan Blachowicz more, so so I think Jan Blachowicz is going to win. Now, last but not the least, the main fight for UFC 291, Dustin Poirier versus